Howdy y'all, welcome back. In today's video, I'd like to address a topic which nearly every single person watching the video right now will have some sort of association with. That is, the mythical creature aptly known as the Cyclops. I know, enough with the J.R.R. Tolkien Game of Thrones nonsense. Get back to the architecture, and I hear you. But trust me when I say that the more time I spend diving into these oldest narratives of the oldest cultures, the more I begin to see that these undeniable similarities arise, which, to me, signal that the ancient myths and the legends of an advanced united group of human beings could be real. We have this hive, the breeding pool of enlightened or educated first men, as written by Higgins in his Anacalypsis, which branched out like veins from the vast landscapes north of India. Arguments over their appearance aside, one thing is abundantly clear. These first men were able-bodied architects at their core, with the ability to design, construct, or destroy cities in a matter of months. Ancient Greek and Roman mythology may help us figure out a key connection between these first men and the stories of the ancient Cyclops. First of all, the word Cyclops in ancient Greek and later Roman means, quote, round eye, or, quote, circular eyes, pronounced something like Cyclope or Cyclopes with a long O. Now here's where it gets interesting. I'm watching a video on ancient mythology which led me down the path to do this research, something more mainstream yet seemingly informative. What blew my mind is, within this program, there was an entire section dedicated to the cataclysm said to have been caused by the god Poseidon. Of course, I was intrigued. Within this short segment, they discussed the role of three throughout the ancient world, and they also mentioned how Poseidon's trident was forged by the Cyclops brothers for Poseidon during the war with the Titans. I find this mythology absolutely fascinating, and trying to make my own connections and thoughts shared with you, I wanted to instantly learn more about the Cyclops. Often mentioned in this narrative is the number 3, so let us extrapolate. First, there is written to be 3 distinct types of Cyclops as written about in ancient history, which we will get into a deeper discussion of in just a moment, these being the Hesiodic, the Homeric, and the, wait for it, wall builders. The Hesiodic or Hesiodic, considered by many to be the most ancient and often the most exaggerated account of the Cyclops, distinguishes 3 distinct brothers who were in fact the leaders of the Cyclops. These 3 brothers are Brontes, meaning thunder, Steropes, meaning lightning, and Arges, meaning brightness or glow, and they were the sons of Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. According to Greek mythology and the Hesiodic account, these 3 Cyclopian brothers were the most influential blacksmiths in all of the realm, and they were in fact considered to be gods themselves, not mere mortal creatures. Renowned by the other gods, the Hesiodic Cyclops were also brothers of the 1,000-armed men, as well as the Titans themselves, the very same Titans led by Kronos, who in Greek mythology would overthrow the earth and take over the earthly realm and the heavens for the Titans. Titans often confounded with the fallen angels, the Nephilim, or the giants. The Cyclops, the very same blood as the Titans, as written in this mythology, are then imprisoned by the Titans in Tartarus and forced to produce weaponry for a heavenly battle. However, according to this same mythology, they use their unmatched knowledge of the world to forge 3 unique and utterly earth-shattering weapons for 3 Olympians who break them free from Tartarus. These 3 mythical devices becoming some of the most well-known and mysterious weapons in all of history. The Cyclops are said to have built Zeus's lightning bolt, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' cap of invisibility. Now, I had actually not heard about the Hades cap of invisibility, but doing a little digging, we come to find that the Greek name for the cap is actually Eidos Kaini, aka the dog skin of Hades. I honestly am not sure what to make of that, but with numerous ancient tales of dog-faced men and canine human deities, this becomes very interesting indeed. To dive a bit further, we are told the helm or cap of Hades was used by Hades to defeat the Titans, then by Athena during the Trojan War. The mythology continues by telling us the helm was then worn by Hermes as he defeated one of the last remaining giants, and finally by Perseus as he defeated and beheaded the Gorgon, Medusa. Interestingly, Medusa was not the head, excuse my pun, of the Gorgons, but was in fact part of a trinity led by Cetharo and Euryale, the 2 Gorgons more elder to Medusa. Perseus uses the cap, or helm, of Hades to escape from the two remaining Gorgon leaders. Tying this back to the Cyclops, much evidence suggests, in my opinion, that the Cyclops, original Greek meaning round eyes, are in fact the original tribes of indigenous people encountered, enchanted, and educated during the earliest travels of the first men out of northern India and Tartary. In the detailed accounts of the Anacalypsis, we have multiple references to the first men encountering even larger framed, seemingly uneducated yet friendly individuals while on their first explorations away from their great hive in northern India. I believe the Cyclops are the indigenous light-skinned peoples who the northern Indians first encountered during this earliest migration. Cyclops, literally meaning round eyes, and their earliest artistic depiction showing individuals with two large eyes, but more importantly, individuals with their third eye visible and wide open. This ties back to the earliest cosmic balance, which led to the earliest understanding of the stars, the moon, and the sun. This led to language, mathematics, and even architecture, and this also coincides with Hindu and Buddhist tradition, as well as aligning with the thousands of accounts referenced in pre-1900 works on this ancient history. The Cyclops were considered to be the most skilled craftsmen of their time, as well as the greatest in size and strength. Later poets echo this, beginning with the 3rd century BC poet Callimachus, and he imagines the Cyclops, the primordial makers of Zeus's thunderbolt, also becoming the assistants of the smith god Hephaestus at his forge in Sicily, which was actually underneath and within Mount Etna. Now, this is echoed by the 1st century BC Latin poet Virgil in his epic poem, the Aeneid. He has the Cyclops actually living under the direction of Vulcan. Now, Vulcan is just another name for the smith god Hephaestus, and in this account, they also dwell within or underneath Mount Etna. Virgil describes the Cyclops as creating not only Zeus's thunderbolt, but they are also said to have created the chariot for Mars himself. According to Hellenistic astral myth, the Cyclops were the builders of the very first altar. The myth was a catasterism, which explained how the constellation, the altar, or Ara, came to be in the heavens. According to this myth, the Cyclops built an altar upon which Zeus and the other gods all swore allegiance before their war with the Titans. After their victory, the gods placed the altar in the sky in commemoration, and thus began the practice throughout time, according to this myth, of men swearing oaths upon altars as a guarantee of their good faith. And as you can see, that's just another esoteric or sort of hidden history tie to the Cyclops. But it doesn't end there, because within this narrative, it is also said that smith guilds, examples being the Freemasons, and other secret societies and organizations actually stem from the Cyclops, who, according to Walter Burkett, a professor of Greek history, were the first of such order in the entire history of man. The Cyclops being the highly educated architects and blacksmiths, those of knowledge and prowess, who became known as Cyclops only after hundreds, if not thousands of years of service to the gods and the people who worshiped them. The Cyclops were a type of proto-charity, seemingly spreading the gospel of mathematics and architecture and the use of forges and ironworking around the known world at the time. This mirrors almost perfectly the rise, ascent, and travels of the first men of northern India, who in the Anacalypsis are written to have brought with them their language, craftsmanship, architectural abilities, and religion everywhere that they went, yet at first they are said to have only encountered indigenous peoples when venturing out from their hive in northern Tartary. Seeing these massive creatures, as they called them, who lacked empathy or the ability to build or speak or even add and subtract, according to Higgins, the first men then educated these people. Then these people educated their neighbors, so on and so forth. There was no jealousy at the time because everyone was succeeding. Everyone was united. Everyone was safe. Everyone was fed. Everyone could finally communicate, build, and grow. This is the United Empire, as some of us refer to as Tartary. This was the rejuvenation of mankind by the way of knowledge. According to Higgins, Strabo, and many other scholars, this all stems from the ancient lands north of India, referred to as Tartary, and I believe the ancient legends of the Cyclops are in fact a sort of tale of the enlightening of the giant light-skinned men as first encountered during the travels of the northern Indians. Thus, the Tartarians and the Cyclops intermingled, and the Cyclops' third eyes were opened. I believe this is where the word Cyclops truly stems from. What it does mean is wide eyes or round eyes or circular eyes. Now, to add on that, I believe this is when the first men, when they began to venture out and they began to encounter these other human beings or these other creatures that look similar to them, their first reaction was to try to educate these individuals. The Cyclops were just one of these groups that intermingled with the first men and then became part of the first men. And I believe this is where the name Cyclops stems from. It was a classification for a type of individual that was part of the larger hive that once really ruled over the entire world. Now, tying this back into the current narrative account of the Cyclops, we have the Homeric account. Keeping this short and sweet, in Homer's Odyssey, the hero, Odysseus, encounters Polyphemus, the son of Poseidon. Polyphemus is a one-eyed giant who lives in a distant land after being driven away from society along with the rest of the Cyclops. That is quite a metaphor when we consider, in my last video, we briefly discussed the Great Flood narrative, or the Deluge, as well as the Tower of Babel. In the Odyssey, Polyphemus is part of the Cyclops, their entire race being pushed out of society to far away lands. The Cyclops here are considered to be mortal, not gods. They are considered to be roaming shepherds, yet violent beyond belief. They have, according to the Homeric account, no recollection of God or Zeus, and they make no weapons. They have no ships, and they build no architecture. They are a lost group, seemingly without the ability to even communicate. Now, do you see similarities here between the people post-flood, the architect extraordinaires who built this temple to reach God, or a tower known as the Tower of Babel, a possible metaphor to their overly advanced culture and their abilities? Can you see in the post-Babel biblical narrative how these Cyclops, or giants, could have been the people scattered to the furthest reaches of the earth with no memory of their past or their history? To me, these stories echo each other very eerily. In Homer's account and later works describing Homer's writing, we are told that Homer's Cyclops are said to live beneath Mount Etna, just as we discussed in earlier accounts. Now, bringing it full circle, and to wrap up the acknowledgement of the number 3 as important within this narrative, we are told the Cyclops built 3 of the most immense and mysterious walls in all of ancient Greek and Roman history. These walls being the Mycenae, the Tyrrhens, and the Argos. Again, what comes first here, the chicken or the egg? How old are these ancient walls? Do the unexplainable nature of these walls, their massive size, lead to a creature needing to be conjured up in the narrative to explain these creations away? We're told that's exactly why these are called the Cyclopean walls. The Cyclops were in fact real master builders, the first master builders by many accounts, the master builders said to be from Tartary, also associated with Marduk, as discussed in my previous videos. Gods like Vulcan in later times, gods of forging, also gods of creation, gods of iron and of architecture, as well as the people known as the Saka, the Sakai, the Sassanach, the Sakasara, the Sakan, the Khan, the Hakan, the Hakim, the Kohen. These are all ancient descriptive epithets thought to be mysterious groups of people, yet inherently they all appear to have the same history. And it becomes even more clear that these architects are enlightened men and they come from the same hive. These master builders, the Cyclops, were famous in antiquity from at least the 5th century BC onwards. The poet Pindar has Heracles driving the cattle of Geryon through the Cyclopean portal of the Tyrrhenian king. The mythographer Pherecydes says that Perseus brought the Cyclops with him to Argos, presumably to build the walls of Mycenae. Protos, the mythical king of ancient Argos, was said to have brought a group of 7 Cyclops with him to build the walls of Tiryns. The late 5th and early 4th century BC poet Nico Faun wrote a play called either chirogastores or enchirogastores, meaning hands to mouth, which is thought to have been about the Cyclopian wall builders, end quote. Ancient historians explain that title as meaning, quote, those who feed themselves by manual labor, end quote. However, a more direct interpretation could be those with mouths on their bellies. The 1st century Greek geographer Strabo says these Cyclops were called belly hands because they earned their food by working with their hands. But it did remind me of the ancient mythical blemmies, or men without heads. But I digress. The 1st century natural philosopher Pliny the Elder, in his Natural History, reported a tradition attributed to Aristotle that the Cyclops were the inventors of masonry towers. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. That basically wraps up the 3 distinct types of Cyclops throughout history as attributed to this current narrative. And all of them really have these ties to the ancient old world, especially when we look at the kingdom or the hive of northern Tartary. So I'm gonna wrap up the video there, but a lot of the subject matter shared today, I'll provide you with, as always, links down below to help you further your reading and expand your research. And also, the channel just hit 34,000 subscribers, and honestly guys, I couldn't be more proud of the work that we are doing here together. I don't always claim to know everything, I never would, and I don't aim to ever be able to learn everything, but I'm only here to share with you the things that intrigue me the most and the things that have helped me to open my eyes, and I share my discoveries with you and my research with you the best that I can, and my opinions, as with everything in this world, are always fluid and growing. So with that being said and that out of the way, the thanks here really goes to you. It goes to my family on this channel. You are like brothers and sisters to me in this research, and you inspire me to want to learn more every day while providing me with the useful information to do so. So I couldn't be more grateful of that. And in conclusion, if you felt I made an impact, or if you just want to see me jump in for some joy and mention you in the next couple of videos, you can reach out to me and donate or support the channel here. Thanks again to everyone who makes this channel possible every day. Your views, your comments, your support, it means the world to me and to this community. Hopefully we can crack the case open on the mysterious Cyclops, seemingly a real group of men who, through time and wise tales, became an amalgamation of something entirely different than what they really initially were. But let me know your thoughts and comments about this subject matter down below, and I sincerely look forward to talking with you on the next video. Cheers.